Now, one of my few S-tier exercises for rear delts is actually by laying on this incline bench, but instead, bring your arms closer to your body, focusing on reaching out at the bottom and then scooping back. If you've ever tried it, then you know it's phenomenal. But the science behind it doesn't really add up. Because the posterior delts have a very similar function to the lats, which is obviously a bigger, stronger muscle, so it's going to take over and take the brunt of the load. So how can I even justify this exercise? And then one day I found it. I was minding my own business, perusing the internet, looking for your good old average Alabama Hot Pocket when I found this case study. The official name is moment arms crossing the anatomical shoulder, which sounds innocent enough, but holy hell, it is not. It's dark. What they did is wired up all the major tendons that cross the glenohumeral joint to a dynamic cadaver testing apparatus, i.e. your grandma that you loved so much that when she passed, you thought, I'm going to donate her body to science because that's what she would have wanted. This is what happened to her. They strung her up like a puppet. Grandma, no. Here's my attempt at an example of what it looked like, because I don't know if I can even show you the images from the case study because they didn't even bother cleaning off your grandma's arm. There's blood all over it. Here, I'll just show it real quick and blur it out. Pretty wild, huh? Bear with me for a second. What this study allowed them to do is get instantaneous internal moment arms of muscle subregions, indicating their mechanical advantage in producing torque at these particular movements. And for the most part, we know that more torque is going to mean that the muscle is more effective at that movement. Which brings up an important point. We've all heard of external moment arms. In this scenario, the fulcrum is your shoulder, the cable pulling up is the force, and there's the moment arm. So just looking at it, the lat and the posterior delt have a very similar moment arm, so the lat's obviously a bigger muscle. That's going to do the bulk of the work. But, you big dumb idiot, you forgot about internal moment arms. Internal moment arms have a disgusting formula that we don't need to get into, but what you do need to know is that it also factors in the insertion point of the muscle as well as the line of action. So now knowing that and looking at the data from the study, you're going to see that when your arm is in flexion, the posterior delt is actually better at extension of the arm, pulling it back towards your body than the latissimus dorsi. And that has everything to do with the line of action of each of those muscles. The posterior delt is mostly horizontal, pulling straight back, while the latissimus dorsi is pulling at like a 60-degree-ish angle. We're deep in the shit today, huh? So to recap, a straight arm equals more torque on the shoulder. A bent arm shortens the distance from shoulder to hand, putting less torque on the shoulder to move the same amount of weight, which then equates to more lat involvement. All of that was just to prove that the lying incline dumbbell rear delt raise, where your arms are close to your body, is one of the best S-tier exercises there is because it takes your traps completely out of it and your lats are less effective in that position than your posterior delts. This did, however, also change the way I train my lats because I used to do cable pullovers with a real straight arm and I felt this awful pain that I thought was in the insertion of it. And in reality, if you look at the data from that study, it's probably your teres major because that scored even higher than the lat as well. So if you want to target your lats, you should probably bend your arms more. Changes everything. Idiot. One more quick note on this exercise. It doesn't mean keep your arms as close to your body as possible. We still have to factor in fiber orientation. And when you look at the posterior delts, you see how those fibers wrap around? The best way to think about it is put yourself in a lat spread, and that's the path you want to pull up on. That also means that the barbell version of this exercise is also S tier. Now I don't have to do the whole, just try it. If you like it, keep it. If not, now just shut the fuck up. Do it.